Honourable for St. James and North.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to give my support to this bill, the Barbados Water Authority Amendment Bill. This has been a long day in coming, sir, as has been said by speakers, members preceding me. When I first was elected to serve in this Parliament in February 2013, within the first 6 weeks, I called up and went to virtually every government department, agency, statutory board that would have direct effect on my constituents' daily living. And of course, I went into Water Authority, went into Town Planning, went into Rural Development Commission. Those three I would name. Wanting to know where are we at in terms of the ability, capacity, legality of a significant percentage of people in my constituency being able to put in indoor bathroom facilities, water facilities. A large part of my constituency, whether it is in Rotterdam, whether it is in the St. Peter Parish part of the constituency, the Wim, Aston Hall, even some parts of Lower Carlton, sir, are prohibited from doing just that in terms of development and in terms of being able to live like any human being should live. Of course, as the Honourable member for St. Michael South East, who led the debate, said in 1973-74, when these regulations came into effect, it was made possible, we call it grandfathering, as of course, that those who had buildings, houses already in areas that became Zone 1 could still put indoor bathroom facilities, toilet facilities. But then those structures that were developed afterwards couldn't. And this is a major issue. When the result of my visiting those departments which had direct bearing on this issue, Town Planning and Water Authority, was that we have a framework to develop what we are doing here today, sir, but none of the departments could give me a time frame in which it would be done, sir. Like I said, that was what? Over 10 and a half years ago. And I mean, continuously I've asked. At that time, of course, it was a Democratic Labour Party administration. Last almost 5.5 years of Barbados Labour Party administration, and I've continuously been asking the ministers with responsibility for water resources, when is this day that has come today going to come? People in especially Aston Hall, sir, call me up or contact me every 2 months virtually. But, Mr. Hinkson, where are we at in terms of getting the regulations, the law, whatever, in place that we can now put in indoor bathroom facilities? We can now get water connections of our own. And I cannot give any direct answer to that question. I could tell them, sir, that this particular bill had been laid in Parliament since April last year, and that, as the Honourable Acting Prime Minister said, it has come before parliamentary group committee for discussion. I'm on probably 3 occasions before now, sir, and various parliamentarians have raised concerns as to the bill as it then stood, and the Honourable Minister of Water Resources had to go back and the Honourable Member for St. Andrew, her Parliamentary Secretary, and look at it again and try to address the concerns, sir. So this has been a long day in coming, sir, but it has come, sir, and it is not the end of the road. I mean, we are passing an amendment to a bill, but what will bring in the actual regulations and the rezoning, and rather than zones A to B, you will have now what zones, rather than zones 1 to 5, you will now have zones A to F, sir. So the implementation still has to come. The order, in the water protection zones order, will still have to be made under this bill. I think it is under section 27, sir. That's still to come in future. But we've made a start. This has been a progression. This has been one major step in this development, sir. Water, what is certainly one of the 3 most precious resources globally that there can be, affecting all 8 billion people in the world. As the Honourable Member for Christchurch West Central said, about a quarter of the world's population, 2 billion people, do not have access to potable water, to decent water, to healthy water, sir. Wars, many wars, as we know, sir, have been fought throughout history on access to water. Water flowing or being sourced from one area, starting in one country, flowing through another, ending up in another, and wars being fought for access to this water. People stopping off water supplies to other countries, war start, fight break out, sir. That is the important significance of water supply. And let's face it, sir, I mean, we've had areas in Barbados, especially in Scotland district, areas that up to recently have had tremendous difficulty in terms of water supply and access to water, without water for 2-3 weeks in some cases, even on Christmas Day, sir. In cases, I remember a time in St. Joseph, St. Andrew, sir, and this is not good. This government has to be commended tremendously for the improvements in that, and it is not even an issue these days, sir, because of the efforts of this government, tremendous efforts over the last 5.5 years to eliminate, virtually reduce significantly, this issue of lack of water supply to certain districts in the Scotland district and in the north, sir. And that is the first step. And you have to commend this administration, sir, and the administration of the Barbados Water Authority in bringing us to that event, sir. There are issues, sir, still tremendously, management of leaks, monitoring of leaks. And quite honestly, it is not good that in a lot of cases, people have to call their members of parliament for leaks to be addressed. That is the truth, sir. That is one of my tasks, multiple tasks as members of parliament, dealing with water leaks. When constituents call and say that they call water authority last week, 2 weeks ago, nobody has come, water leaking, water wasting. The Honourable Member for Christchurch, who is a former Minister of Water Resources, gave the figure of at least 40% of our water is wasted by this method, by leaks. And that is, quite honestly, unacceptable, sir. It is probably a case that Water Authority does not have enough manpower, women power to deal with the issue. Up to 2 days ago, 4 days ago when we were at parliamentary group meeting, I had to send forward a massive water leak, water flowing all about Porters, St. James to the management. And the next morning, yes, they came and dealt with it. So this is a fundamental issue, and we have to accept the fact and face the reality that it is going to cost millions and millions of dollars to replace these old water mains and pipes that we hear about often and that we heard about today, sir, some of which are over 100 years old and obviously have expired in terms of their feasibility and their reliability long time ago, before some of us were born here. It's going to be a challenge for this political administration, for the Barbados Water Authority to systematically replace those mains. And as new roads are built, mains are replaced. And yes, the Honourable Minister who introduced this bill, Acting Prime Minister, spoke about Rotterdam Road in my constituency. A greater challenge than was expected. The road started last year, December. A fantastic road, sir. That is the truth. It will be tremendous from top to bottom when it's finished, but challenging because the water remains being replaced, as the Honourable Minister said, and the difficulties with that. And we know, sir, that whenever you have a burst main, let's say here, and it's fixed, in the next week, sir, not even a week, 5 days, another burst less than 50 meters down the road. You fix that, then the burst goes the next 50 meters, sir. Well, that is something that is a reality and is another challenge. It is another mission critical, I would say, sir, that this government has to face and has to deal with. The issue of the app that can tell you which zone you lie in and whether you can now go ahead and what development can take place is tremendous, sir. And yes, as the Honourable the Acting Prime Minister said, the parliamentary group insisted that this should be free of cost to the people, sir. There shouldn't be any charge for this. And there shouldn't be any bureaucracy involved in this. We're looking to ease doing business in this country. And the last part of easing doing business is not only for people, the big conglomerates in terms of doing business, but in the everyday lives of the ordinary Barbadians, sir. That life has to be easier for them. And it can't be that they have to call up a member of parliament or somebody with a name, quote unquote, to try and get things done. They should be able to deal with it. And if it takes our constituency offices to have to help them, that is what they're there for, sir. So that is a major issue. And for people to know, for somebody in the WIM, for example, after these regulations come into force, to know what they can do, whether they can now have development and improve their living situation or not, sir. The issue and this government, sir, made it a pledge in 2018 that by 2027, we would eliminate each and every pit toilet in Barbados, sir. I mean, you know, there are some people, I think the average Barbadian probably does not realize how many pit toilets there may still be in all across our country. It may surprise some to know. And we pledge to eliminate them, all of them, by 2027. That is perhaps set back a bit now because of COVID, sir. We lost two and a half years of development because of COVID, something that we didn't cater for, something that no one could have predicted, but something that we had to deal with. And therefore, that target of 2027, which the Honourable Prime Minister, in fact, said, I'm sure, has to be put back, but we are still committed to eliminating each and every pit toilet in this country, sir. And if it takes having the government to intervene financially and spend some money to not only assist people in terms of the indoor-borne facilities, which has been going on, sir, in terms of Rural Development Commission, and I'm sure Urban Development Commission, but also in getting the septic tank or the source, soak away, sir. The government is going to have to do that, sir, as has been mooted here. One of the problems that has complicated the reaction of the Barbados Water Authority to improve our water system within the last 5 years has been the ineptitude and the mismanagement and the downright corruption, sir, if I may say so, of the Barbados Water Authority, people involved in the Barbados Water Authority at ministerial level and otherwise under the last administration, sir. So we got to speak fast. Auditor General's report of 2020, I think it is, sir, speaks towards that. $1.5 billion gone unaccounted for at the Barbados Water Authority in the 2 terms of the last political administration. $1.5 billion unaccounted for, paid for goods and materials that the Water Authority never received, paid for services that were never carried out. So one of the unfortunate things in this Barbados is that perhaps until recently we've not had the legislation to deal with this, because the public of Barbados demand that when these kind of malpractices, infelicities, corrupt practices take place, that people should be held accountable. But under the last administration, there wasn't the legislative framework to do that. We had a Prevention of Corruption Act, 1929, based on the British 1917 Act, sir, 100 years old, that the Prime Minister, the last Prime Minister under the Democratic Labour Party, sir, said was good enough for Barbados, sir, even though he must have known better. And that was the legislative framework, whereby you had to find a corrupt practice and bring a charge, and the maximum fine, I think, was $24, sir, within 6 months. You didn't have any Integrity in Public Life Act, sir, which this Parliament recently passed, and therefore people walk away scot-free with $1.5 billion of taxpayers' money gone through the headers. That if this administration had that, it could repair and replace all the mains in Barbados so that lack of water supply would not be an issue, and brown water flowing through your taps that you have to put filters on, in some cases 2 filters at your house, would not be an issue either, sir. But that is the last administration that could be walking about, keeping a lot of noise about a lot of political nonsense right now, sir. Furthermore, sir, this particular amendment to this bill shows the transparency and accountability of this government, because this bill is creating a chief executive officer, sir. And the Honourable Minister of Water Resources credibly argued why that is necessary, sir, to replace a general manager, because the Water Authority is a large infrastructural unit, and I support that totally. But you know, sir, under the last administration of the Democratic Labour Party, they had a chief executive officers, but with no legislative framework or authority to do so. So their first chief executive officer of the Barbados Water Authority was an individual who, for a short time, was a minister under the I think the Prime Minister's office, and he then became Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Water Authority at a higher salary than what the General Manager there previously was paid, and without any legislation to justify that position. And simple amendment to the then Water Authority, Barbados Water Authority bill would have cleared that up. And then their second chief executive officer came in, T. Fetzer, and lately said about him the better, sir. Of course, there's a matter sub judice, which, and therefore, within the rules of this parliament, I would not speak about. But those positions were illegal, outside the framework of the law. And this political administration, as is its tendency and is the basis of this administration, sir, is today formally bringing to Parliament for Parliament's authentication and validation a position of Chief Executive Officer going forward when this new bill comes into effect, sir. I hope that the institutional strengthening of the authority of which the Honourable Minister presenting spoke will come about and will bring about greater customer service and efficiency to the organisation. And I believe it certainly will start doing so with a Chief Operations Officer and with a Chief Technical Officer, sir. Should have been in there a long time. A lot lied on the plate of just 2 or 3 of the top management, and you have to spread around a workload, sir. And really and truly, I know that people, including myself, have in the past given the Water Authority, the management, lashes, sir. But I must say, and I must here in the record of Parliament, commend them for the work they've done, the lack of resources. They always respond to me within my informing of an issue in my constituency where there's shortage of water or burst pipe. I could be assured that within 24 hours it dealt with. That is the truth, sir. Even though the authority doesn't respond to the constituents, at least they respond to me. So, sir, I personally have to thank the top management of the authority for being to responding positively whenever I bring an issue to them. The issue of public education is very important on this point. We have to bring along the people with us in terms of what we are doing, in terms of how this bill and the order being made under it will operate, will be implemented, issues of applications to be made to Town Planning Authority would have to be explained to them so everyone is aware of the processes involved in improving their housing situations. And ultimately, that is what a government has to be about, improving the lives of our constituents. And this Parliament, as the legislative body, has to be assured that every time we come here, sir, and here now we are, Friday afternoon, sir, the light gone down, it's dark, And whereas some of us, sir, have karaoke tonight, sir. I got karaoke in my constituency tonight. But I think it's important here to be here, because what we're doing will improve the lives of a significant percentage of our constituents, the people of Barbados, and certainly a significant percentage of the people of my constituency, St. James North, who live in large areas of Zone 1, sir. So I certainly, sir, don't plan to take up my full allotted time, sir, but certainly I thank you for being able to intervene in this debate and to express my support for this amended bill today.